This is Discover Crypto, and the markets have crashed exactly to our levels. We're going to go into the charts, talk about the levels we were talking about. We're going to show you the XRP chart, the Bitcoin chart, the Solana chart, and we're going to talk about some insane news with Jane Street. This is a Wall Street firm that is now having the finger pointed at them for causing the Terra Luna collapse. We also have Trump with the State of the Union address today. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we have World Liberty Fi potentially under investigation. They might get hit with the Zach XBT thread. I'm joined here by Drew. Drew, you looking good. You're looking nice and warm. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And it's the Jane Street story was shocking, but not shocking. This is the institutional adoption. I don't think it was what we were looking for, but institutions are here. They're involved.
Did you see that Jane Street? Now, they were fingered for having the 10 a.m. manipulation that then turned into the 9 a.m. manipulation. It has now been uncovered. They are behind 8 p.m. manipulation. Now, this is a little bit of hearsay, but when you start, when you look at the charts, you really can't help but notice a very, very strong trend starting to develop. You can look at the long tail of that wick right there. Very, very suspicious. This is the 8 p.m. candle right there. The very, very suspicious activity. Let's look at the recent price action with Bitcoin. We do have Bitcoin turning a little bit bullish. Let's look at some of these shorter time frames here. We are starting to put in some bear divs. Let's go up to the 5-minute. No bear div yet on the 5-minute, so we might keep on pumping. I wouldn't be surprised if we come up to this area right before the Jane Street manipulation, but the markets are getting a little bit hot, so you might be able to, if you're waiting for a long, you might be able to get a better entry if you just give it a little bit of time here. Let's go to the 1-hour chart. Look at that, Bitcoin just down and down. But Drew, we were talking about this earlier. We are starting to see bull divs on the 1 hour. So now we're starting to go into the larger time frames, showing a little bit of structural strength, and potentially we have hidden divergence on the 2 hour, and we don't quite have it on the 4. But we're starting to see the markets potentially turn around here. Drew, are you feeling like this bullish trend can continue, only for it to dump at 8 p.m.?
I mean, if we can make it viral enough that we're highlighting the 8 p.m. dump, then maybe they'll stop, right? When they get their hand caught in the cookie jar.
They usually go a week or two, Drew. They usually go a week or two. So
I know.
I bet it's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, I was watching it last night too, and it was just like right as 8 p.m. happened, I got stopped out. I still made like a 30% trade longing yesterday, and then my stop loss is at a 30% gain. So it slammed into that stop loss and then just kept cascading to the downside. But we are seeing, as you highlighted, the lack of selling pressure, like the sellers seeming to be kind of leveling out. So I am interested to see if we can bounce from this point. But I'm being cautiously optimistic because we're not out of the woodwork yet. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And honestly, like, the Jane Street story and this thing coming out with Zach XBT, there's a lot of concern.
Not only that, folks, we have the most bearish signal we've ever seen for Bitcoin that wasn't clickbait. This is literally the worst Bitcoin signal, and I might tell you that it's going to get worse. Now, the signal that we're talking about is going to be the RSI. Before we show you the RSI, I do want to look at the rest of the market here. Let's go ahead and hit refresh because we're seeing a lot of activity. Probably going to turn green on the left side. It certainly did. Bitcoin's now down 2.8%, was around 4.5%. Solana down 3.1%. We have Cardano down 2.7%. Bitcoin Cash down 11%. I hope you weren't hoping to use your Bitcoin Cash for coffee, and if you did, I hope you bought it yesterday. Pippin still continuing to pump here. The cred, I haven't seen this. Don't know how credible this one might be. Monero is 3.9% to the upside. ICP with a little bit of a pump, and we're going to talk about some Canton news. Canton is starting to tokenize a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. Government debt started with a I'm trying to remember the name. It's a British government debt. What is they call it? It's a weird gilt. I think GILT. They are now starting to move these gilts, not kilts, but gilts. We're going to break that down in a little bit as well. We have Nexo down, Pump.Fund continuing to bleed here. So we're seeing a lot of activity, but there was a lot of stocks that got hit. It wasn't just Bitcoin. I'm going to show you this terrible, terrible RSI in a second, but look at these. Who is this? David Stockman. If you couldn't have a more NPC name than that, when you're talking about traditional assets like the stock market, well, we got a guy, his name's literally Stockman. Well, Stockman, oh, Bitcoiners, he loves, rubbing his thumb in our eye socket here. Bitcoiners got to love that store value performance. Price go down 48% in 4 months. But hey, rug pulls make, never mind, two diamond hands. Then again, a speculative asset is one thing. Real money, it's a whole different kettle of fish. I agree, David. This is from Willy Woo, famous Bitcoiner, 1.2 million followers. Look at these piece of trillion-dollar stocks that also draw down. They should never have had a place in a wealth portfolio, let alone S&P 500. NVIDIA, max drawdown 65%. Apple has drawn down 82%. Google's drawn down 60%. Microsoft's drawn down 60%. Amazon drew down 92%. 23 years ago, 24. Meta's drawn down 77%. And Tesla has drawn down 73%. Drew, maybe Bitcoin's not so bad with its 74% drawdowns.
Yeah, it's like the Amazon pullback at the front end of Amazon's development. There was a lot of people that discredited it. I am watching the stock market, but another thing that's in the back of my mind, we had 40,000 foreclosures in January alone, right? So the actual economy is falling apart.
Is that higher or lower than average? I don't even know. There's 300 million Americans. That could be low.
I'll bring it up. So there's 40,534 foreclosures across the U.S. in January. Now, this is down 10% from 2025's December, but it's also up 32% from the beginning of 2025. So the foreclosures have been very strong for 2025, and they're starting off with a bang in this year as well. And this is the stagflationary market locking up concern that I have in general. This is also, in my opinion, why we see gold and silver doing what they're doing, is because when the market seizes and the velocity of cash basically evaporates between middle and lower class Americans, then you have a stagflationary event where products don't move, houses don't move, and you can only cover this up for so long until a major correction happens in the markets. So, that's kind of what I'm watching. And really, people that are mocking Bitcoin for its 50% drawdown, they don't deserve the gains because they don't have any belief in it, right? If you are only here for the money, you're going to buy the top, you're going to sell the low, and then you're going to come complain about it. That's how this market works. But generally, I think that there's more downside for single family, unfortunately, and that's a $120 trillion industry here in the U.S. There's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah, I looked up the stat real quick. It does look like foreclosures are up roughly 26 year over year. Looking at January, potentially 32. So 30% increase in foreclosures. So definitely right on the money. But let's talk about this terrible Bitcoin signal. The worst thing we've ever seen. It was made history. We've never seen it this low. Lower than tariffs, FTX, COVID, Mt. Gox, lower than everything. We're going to talk about the weekly RSI. But first, if I get everybody to smash that like button, because we're going to get a little bit racy a little bit later. It's going to get a little dicey as we dive into crypto and politics. There is a World Liberty Fi angle. There's a World Liberty Fi story we got to talk about. But Bitcoin's weekly RSI has now reached its lowest level in history, lower than all of these bearish events. This means in the history of Bitcoin, it has never been this oversold. I like to verify. I don't ever trust it. We got one more chart before we look here. That's the 8 p.m. slam. I wanted to make sure I share that. Now we have it on the weekly RSI. I was highlighting those little bull divs earlier, so let me go ahead and delete those. Here you go. You can see it right here. Weekly RSI. We're just looking at the 1 week chart here. I'm going to throw up the horizontal line. And you can see briefly lower. Now, I did find some other metrics that we're looking, you can change this slightly. You go to Heiken Ashi, that's going to change it a little bit. Look at that. So boom, there you go. So this is, if I had to guess, they're probably playing with the candles. Nothing wrong with that. I think we've all been there. We've all, played with the candles there. Phrasing, Nick. And looking at this, we have never seen the RSI this oversold. But Drew, I got even worse news for you.
Oh, good.
Let's look at the monthly.
Okay.
It just keeps going lower. We have a trend suggesting, Bitcoin's not done. Bitcoin RSI is going to head even lower. Look at that right there. I'm not saying it has to hit this, but we keep touching this line every single bear market bottom. And so the pain for Bitcoin could be getting even worse. But again, we're looking at monthly candles now. And so I am expecting, I'm going to go ahead and flip short-term bullish. I am expecting some sort of relief rallies. Might have to do a video on it tonight, Drew. But how about that? We've never seen it this oversold, as long as you're looking at the Heikin-Ashi.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes you think. And really, what we see, the most disruptive thing out there right now is AI. And as we saw with that, plus I think it was Citrielli research or whatnot.
Citrini research.
It hit IBM, the worst IBM stock has ever had a daily sell-off this century. Just one post about a slight capability that this this Anthropic AI system is capable of. And this is really disruptive for the markets right now. I've seen some interesting takes about it, but maybe, there's a ecosystem within Batal Tensor, Tau, the token. The ecosystem within Tau is thriving right now amidst all this chaos. And you also have Canton thriving right now for institutional swaps and treasury repos and all kinds of things. So I do hold Canton. I am of the opinion for myself and my portfolio, I need to increase exposure to Tau and the subnet within Tau, because it's plain as day. ISM, all that cash and economic flow went to AI, right? The infrastructure for AI, everything within it,
and precious metals. I think you got to say a lot of free capital did pour into the precious metals markets. Right. And so, hey, folks, speaking of AI, I'm glad you brought this up, Drew. We did an interview with Yat Sui from Animoca Brands. You probably have heard of Animoca Brands, very, very big in 2021. They're building the metaverse, but now they're kind of pivoting to an agentic AI. I get a little deep here. I asked them point blank, is crypto gaming dead? And I even throw Alex Becker under the bus there and say, what is Animoca doing with AI today? I asked him about the midterms, what that kind of impact that might have if the house flips. So I highly recommend go watch that interview. We just put it out yesterday, about 10,000 views. Highly recommend. Check it out, folks. All right, but back to Bitcoin here. We got a little extra scary news. We got Bitcoin dipping under 63. History says more pain ahead. What are they talking about? Well, talking about some moving averages here, and I pulled it up as well. It's the MACD. So let me pull up my indicator. I just kind of cut to the chase here. We got to go through the whole article. They're saying the MACD is flipping bearish, but it was a weird timeline. It was the 12-hour candles. They say every time the MACD flips bearish on the 12-hour, we do get drawdowns. And Drew, I was looking just recently. It is ugly as hell. It goes straight up. Boom. That's the last time we flip red. We flip red right here. Boom. Hard move to the downside. This one was a little bit of a fake out rally that would then lead to a major move to the downside. And then this one also precluded that move to the downside. And when you look here, it gets also ugly again. So when we're in an uptrend, when you see this MACD flip bearish, maybe just be a little bit careful, folks out there. It could show a lot of pain is going to be coming your way. Now, let's briefly talk about Michael Saylor's interview yesterday. Did an interview with Nat Brunell. Let me guess, Drew. Michael Saylor wasn't bearish on Bitcoin.
I'm gonna agree with you there.
Sounds crazy. So he dismissed concerns about quantum computing, saying the cybersecurity community broadly agrees any credible threat is more likely a decade away. You'll see it coming. We'll all see it coming. Saying the Bitcoin software is designed to change over time with nodes, hardware, wallets capable of upgrading. 0 times does he mention the real issue with quantum threat. Others in the crypto industry do appear more worried about the threat, including Vitalik Buterin, which if you ever listen to Vitalik speak and Michael Saylor speak, one clearly has a higher IQ. Vitalik warns that ECC, elliptical curve cryptography, which underpins ETH and old Bitcoin wallets, including Satoshi's wallets, could fail before the next presidential election. And so we're talking about two different things. I keep harping on this point. So you sound intelligent and credible when you're talking about it. People are going to say, well, I heard Bitcoin has some quantum threat. Sure. Bitcoin network, Bitcoin core, no threat. It's going to be fine for a long time. It will upgrade by then. Satoshi's old wallets, huge threat, credible threat. And that's what we're talking about when Bitcoin might get hacked by AI. We're talking about Satoshi's wallet might get hacked, not the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, in my mind goes into not just how disruptive that moment in time could be if that wallet does get disrupted by quantum computing, but also what could be disrupted on traditional banking side, infrastructure security. I mean, I'd be worried about the water filtration of an entire state or a country. If you can be hacked from and encryption is basically broken by quantum computing, you have a lot of problems on the plate. So that is kind of a scary thing that not only, old school Bitcoiners aren't doing the best job of acknowledging, but also our just general country security is not addressing this threat, because we could see like versions of Claude's evil twin. It came out very fresh in January and December, shutting down AWS, many different systems for almost a day on end, multiple times. No one cared. They just moved on. No big problem here. There's a lot of threats coming at us from this advancement. So
Some are saying ETH's centralization is the real threat. And if you don't know, ETH heavily centralized, and that is why we have ETH Classic. There had to be a fork. There's the more decentralized version of Ethereum. It is called ETH Classic. Now there's the newer, more accepted version of Ether, and that's going to be the common Ethereum that you know today. Very, very centralized. Very good point there. I have one more thing on Bitcoin. We're going to get some of the news here. Look at this. It's when the 50-week crosses below the 100-week moving average. So there's a new signal, and history's favoring a deeper sell-off after this happens. So we're looking at this orange line potentially crossing below this teal line. And what happens when we see this before? Well, it does potentially mark very, very close to bottoms. Here you can see Bitcoin 18 and change, 19 would fall to 16. So a lot better than a lot of the other metrics. They'll have them flashing around, 20s, 25. This one's coming in at 18, so a lot closer to the bottom there. We have this one as well. This one, the bottom was already behind us, but still very, very close to the bottom. I mean, 3,500, 3,600, it's at 4K. They're very, very close. And then we have another one. It's only happened one other time right here. Very, very close to the bottom. Once again, within a stone's throw. And Drew, look how far away we are. And so this might suggest that 50K Bitcoin. This almost tells me 40s, high 40s.
I mean, I'd still, 54, 52 is still in my mind likely where that final, oh my God, it's all over. So
the final countdown, if you will.
The final count. That's still in my mind where that happens. But it's going to take some months to get there. Maybe, we could speed run this, but
that's my hope. That's my hope. We can speed run it. We can find a bottom a lot sooner. If you watch last night's video, I basically say that. I say we are going to find a bottom a lot sooner. I'm trying to remember. I think maybe it wasn't the 200-week moving average, but I was looking at the tops, and what I saw was this was 400 days. 2017 was 300 days. This was 200 days. And then this one is looking like, I want to say it was 150 days, and it was a death cross. This was 50-week crossing below the 200-week. And so the death cross, again, 400 days, 300 days, 200 days, likely going to be 150 days. So we are speed running the bear market, just like we sped run the bull, just like we sped run the new all-time high near halving. So we speed run that. We're going to speed run the death cross as well. We're speed running all the bottom signals here, folks. But now let's get into the World Liberty Fi situation. This is pretty crazy stuff. So World Liberty Fi, this is getting crazy. Eric deleting his tweets. We're going to cover that as well. So ZachXBT announces a major insider trading investigation. This is going to drop on Thursday. USD1 nearly depegged. Eric Trump deleted some tweets. World Liberty Fi, hey, it's all coordination. Eric Trump posts about World Liberty Fi. Timing could be a coincidence, but the optics are not great. Is quite obviously a World Liberty Fi bonk expose. This people just kind of throwing out guesses. So ZachXBT is like, hey man, I got this big expose coming on Thursday. The whole world's like, it's World Liberty Fi. It's World Liberty Fi. Here's one of those posts talking about the USD1 depeg. They're saying, well, it's not coordinated attack. It almost depegged because Eric was frantically deleting tweets.
Not a good look.
Your tweet deleting is what really raised our suspicions. Here's a World Liberty Fi comment. Coordinated attack was launched this morning. Attackers hacked co-founder accounts, paid influencers to spread FUD, opened massive shorts to profit. It didn't work. Thanks to our sound mint and redeem mechanism. God, I feel like we've just heard all these before. Well, chat, what have I said? There is a way with a certain degree of certainty. We know who this is. And all roads lead to prediction markets. All road leads to the buck stops here. We don't know for sure, but high odds could be Meteora. Something to pay attention to here. I've seen a lot of activity past few hours. Meteora was above 50%, now drawn down to 32%. Axiom and Pumped Up Fun taking a little bit, but World Liberty Fi is only 4%. So to me, I would just say it's highly unlikely. It's a Trump entity. I would say keep an eye out on the top 2, potentially the top 3 names here.
Yeah, I'm feeling it's either Meteora or Pump Fun. That's what I personally feel like. And Pump Fun's kind of funny because do you remember the idea that Pump Fun was going to come out with an airdrop to give back to the community that got destroyed inside of that meme coin casino? They completely went silent on that. And if you're telling me that Pump Fun was completely insulated from any insider movements, any insider trading from those meme coin explosions and deaths, you're kidding yourself. I think that there was something behind that. What's this World Liberty Fi tweet?
No, this is Eric's tweet here. USD1. Hey, we're so great, guys. Hey, why'd you delete your tweets, brother? We know what you did. Wait, isn't he deleting all these tweets? Let's rob the pores. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I would like to think that his sons and Trump know better. And Trump would have probably been like, listen, don't F about. You will find out.
My only question, Drew, here is what is it bouncing off of?
Oh,
let's move on. So here you can see, look at the Meteora token. Look at that Meteora token. This thing was 22 cents, fell pretty sharply. A few trades when it's revealed. 2 images. You haven't even said a thing. That's just rough stuff. This is part of the reason I did want to throw this up on Polymarket here. We are going to talk a little bit about Binance and Iran a little bit later. The odds for this over the past week, are we going to strike by the end of the month, next month? So we're looking at, 38 days, 31 days of March. So next 38 days here, the odds were 38%. In fact, you go back about 2 weeks, the odds were as low as very, very low. 30% we're going to strike in the next 2 months or so. Very, very low odds. You fast forward to today, we're up to we're in the 60s now. And so the odds that we're going to see a strike by the end of the month, the next month, is increasing. So keep an eye out on that. Speaking of Trump, we do have a State of the Union. Drew is going to be potentially opening some insane trades while watching this. We do have a sneak peek of what he's going to talk about. I think Wall Street Journal talked to his speechwriter here. So he's going to talk about including the tax cuts. All right, so here's what he's going to be talking about, his policies. Tax cuts passed by the Congress last year. Also, his move on prescription drug prices. Also, calling on Congress to pass legislation to redirect the federal subsidiaries from the insurers to the consumers. So that's going to be, good news for just people trying to purchase their own healthcare. Also, it's going to be a long speech because we have so much to talk about, Trump said. This is indicating he's going to go off the script. That's where the alpha is. It's not in the button-down paragraphs. It's when he does the weave. And I'm not talking about his hair. I'm talking about when he meanders on his topics. Also, finally here, I think this is the last part, administration is going to talk about protection pledges where the administration negotiated with tech companies, the bigger tech companies, that require them to pay higher electricity costs where they're building new AI data centers. So this is going to be, hey, we're lowering your electricity. We're reining in big tech with their AI. We're going to try to make your health care a little bit cheaper. We got tax cuts. So all indications this is going to be a pump the economy, pump the narrative of the economy speech here.
Yeah, and there's no way he doesn't talk about Iran and Mexico. He's going to do it. He's going to talk about Canada too. And that's where the real alpha is, right? And do you still have your oil options open?
Yeah, they're down 1% today, so pretty flat. And we did take profit yesterday. So yeah, we are in the oil options. I could double check here. USO, I think July Okay, it's now down 7%. So well, we're not dying or anything. So I mean, we're still way up on the position. So we're doing good on the position. We have been taking some profits there. All
Yeah.
right, now let's do the big crypto story. I kind of buried this story because it's huge in crypto. Normies do not care about this, but this is massive. This is detailing basically the entire bear market of 22. So there's a trading firm is now being sued over Terra Luna collapse. It's Jane Street. We've tried to expose them several times. Quantitative trading firm, major crypto market maker. Well, May of 22, Terra, their stablecoin, lost the dollar peg, the UST. Luna hyperinflates. They had to create a bunch of tokens to sell, which then they could buy back these dollars that were losing value. So they printed that Luna token like it's the German Weimar or something. $40 billion was wiped out. Terraform removed on the 7th 150 million from their stablecoin pool. So this was a pool where you could trade like a different stablecoin into this stablecoin. The move was not publicly announced. Minutes later, Jane Street removed 85 million from the same liquidity pool. A depeg then accelerated. 2 days later, it would collapse below 50 cents. Death spiral begins. Billions liquidated. Terraform administrator, he filed a lawsuit in Manhattan, and he's claiming inside information, front running, market manipulation, hundreds of millions, exposure reduced. It gets even crazier. There's people named, there's secret chats. Jane Street's denying all the allegations here. First, they depegged, destroyed it, pretending it would rescue them. Effectively, it was soaking up what little value remained. All right, here's a little bit of a break. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. This is very important because it points the finger at people still in crypto today. So the administrator, this is the person kind of handling the unwinding here. They're suing Jane Street. They said they engaged in insider profit. Tom Snyder, that's the administrator. That's the guy in charge of this. He's appointed by the bankruptcy court. He's seeking damages from 3 people. The co-founder, 2 employees. With a name like Bryce Pratt, he's got to be a jerk face, right, Drew?
I mean, I know
Have you ever met a good Bryce?
I know one good Bryce.
Okay? All right. He's the exception to the rule.
One good Bryce.
Look, if your name is Bryce, I demand you smash the like button. Okay, that is the only way I'm going to change my opinion of you. But back to the story here. Jane Street used non-public information to front run and speed up the demise. We talked about their collapse there, some of whom lost their life savings basically overnight. Quan, he's the guy behind Terra Luna. He founded Terraform in 2018. Meanwhile, he's serving 15 years currently. Now, Jane Street abused market relationships to rig the market in his favor during one of the most consequential events in crypto history. This is according to that administrator appointed by the bankruptcy judge. We're going to have 2 comments here, one from him, one from Jane Street. This desperate suit is a transparent attempt to extract money where it's well established the losses were the result of the fraud perpetrated by the management. This is from Jane Street. We will defend ourselves vigorously against these baseless, opportunistic claims. Okay, all right. Well, that's what they say. Now, Jane Street has signed up to trade directly with Terraform, but the tokens didn't take off until February of 22. So they were holding these tokens for 4 years. That's when Jane Street sent Bryce Pratt. This guy worked at Terraform. Jerkface. Worked. I don't know if he's a jerk. I'm just kind of being funny. But this guy worked at Terraform. He then would go work at Jane Street. And then he would establish secret lines of communication with his former employees. According to the lawsuit, this is all allegations. There's a group chat he set up with his former coworkers. They named the chat Bryce's Secret.
Oh,
so maybe I'm taking a leap here, but maybe they were trading inside information. He used this as a way to channel information back to Jane Street. So this guy works for Terra Luna. Maybe he sees the writing on the wall. I don't know. He then works for Jane Street. He develops secret communications with his former employees and then opens up a secret chat where they could relay information back to Jane Street. Now, specifically, we did this. Terraform, they withdrew 150 million from Curve 3 less than 10 minutes later, like 8 minutes later, if you check the blockchain. It hadn't been publicly announced. A crypto wallet that some analysts have linked to Jane Street, they withdrew the 85 million from that same pool. That's what the complaint says. Now, Jane Street, that's where it gets crazy. Jane Street was the launch pad for Bankman-Fried and Caroline Ellison before they would found FTX and Alameda Research. So, Drew, we got the founder, we got Bryce, the jerk face, but they've also talked about the third guy. The third guy, I believe, Drew, was customer service, and he would also get information, send it to Jane Street, and it's him.
Oh
It
my
was this
God.
guy. It was this. I think this is the guy, man.
Oh no.
No, I'm just joking about the end there, but
This looks
insane
horrible.
stuff. This is
This-
totally insane.
Yeah. Jane Street also holds a very, very large set of positions, paper positions on gold and silver as well.
They trade a lot of stuff.
So,
Quantitative trading firm.
and they don't just trade a lot, they're a very powerful organization. So let's say they do get caught. What's going to change? Right? What's going to change? They have deep pockets. This man's in prison with Diddy right now. They already got him handled. If we find out that it's true, is anything going to actually change from that? That's where my mind.
I guess they can get a good amount with the lawsuit. Maybe with the lawsuit, they'll be able to claw back some. Jane Street, if it really gets bad, they'll just change their name and reopen under a different name.
Yeah.
And really nothing will change. They'll keep they'll keep the same quants, they'll keep their same hardware, and they'll keep their trading edge. I believe Jane Street just got that. It's a big communication device to help shave milliseconds off their front running, off their arbitrage trades there, where they consolidate a bunch of trades, front run you by a millisecond, and sell it to you at a fraction of a penny higher. I think they're one of 3 entities that just got something to the NASDAQ, so they're probably not going to go for a while. Maybe they'll just change the name there. But they ticker gerbs. They took a lot of people's money with the Terra Luna collapse. So just interesting stuff there. Now let's talk about Binance. This one I am skipping 95%. I'm not reading 95% of this because I'm a cut to the bone here. Binance fired staff who flagged $1 billion moving to sanctioned Iranian entities. Now remember, we're seeing increased odds. We are going to see military action by the end of the next month, over the next 5 weeks here. The odds are favoring it. The markets are favoring it. So this is maybe an important story here. So a trading account belonging to a close Binance business partner was identified as moving crypto to the Iranian network. We're going to talk about what this means in a second. Binance subsequently fired the investigators who uncovered these transfers, and the network remained active. Okay, now it's starting to get a little bit hairy here. Now, law enforcement officials said over the past year, Binance, are you ready to like Binance, Drew?
I would like to like Binance. Give me something.
Binance, over the past year, has started cooperating far less with law enforcement requests to obtain financial information about its hundreds of millions of users, such as declining to give government agencies customer details without a court order. Wow. Okay. Hey, hit the like button for that one. Look, we could throw CZ under the bus when it calls Richard Tang, Little Dick Tang. Maybe we'll point it out when it's bad, but we also got to point out when it's good. There are also Binance insisting requests are submitted via formal channels, but then that sometimes takes months. So they're dragging their feet with the investigators. All right, that I like. This is what the world's going to look like in 30 days. Also like that. But here's where it gets, I would say, suspicious, right? And so they're saying Binance. Remember, Elizabeth Warren's been talking about this. Binance, work with Iran, work with these people, work with North Korea. That's what they keep saying here. So it looks like a lot of it's entity A. So Binance pled guilty in 23. Authorities laid out a long list of bad actors that received money from Binance: Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Iranian cyber criminals. There was North Korea, Lazarus Group. They had a whole list here, right? Well, this is where it gets a little crazy. Well, in August, Binance investigators, remember the ones that were fired, submitted an internal report on a customer. It was a company called Hexawhale Trading. It's a Hong Kong company. So Binance has a company called Hexawhale Trading that uses Binance. Well, investigators found Hexa used the account to move about $500 million of Tether, over several months to what they refer to, again, to this entity A. Remember, there's this entity A. This is like what Elizabeth Warren, when she points at her little board, she's talking about entity A. Entity A was a group of 7 wallets that Binance investigators, the ones that were fired, concluded were linked to Iranian networks here, right? So we got Hex moving funds maybe to entity A. Well, investigators kept looking into entity A. They discovered another account that gave them even more money, again, to entity A. Sounds so scary. Well, this one was Blessed Trust, another Hong Kong company, which helps clients convert cash into crypto, crypto into cash, vice versa. All right. So we got these two companies. They're interacting with who, Drew? Entity A.
Yeah.
Gotta beware, Entity A.
Yeah.
Well, who the hell is Entity A, right? One of the investigators contacted this other company and asked about its relationship with this Entity A. The company said, yeah, we have clients that process petroleum byproducts, bitumen, it's oil product for paving roads, as well as construction partners, right? So this company, it's like, well, we have a construction company, we have petroleum byproduct companies, sectors that Binance knew participated in the illicit China-Iran oil trade. So it's basically saying you have a company that paves highways for governments. You know, they do the big highway near your city, and some of their supply chain potentially comes from China. Again, these are Hong Kong-based companies, but these Chinese companies may have bought oil from Iran.
Yeah.
And this company's like, yeah, I have a construction company as my partner.
This sounds like an extension of sanctions, basically, is what it is. You don't like that China and Iran are doing business.
The big CZ works with Iran. They have a couple companies that work with, like, they're based in Hong Kong that are, buying petroleum byproducts from Chinese firms. They're like, yeah, but these Chinese firms maybe did some with, Iranian oil.
Right.
So we got to sanction the company that used a company that bought from a country that interacted with a bad country.
That's a hell of a stretch, right? I mean,
it seems like it, right, Drew?
It does.
It seems a little bit like a stretch. So I just want to share that story. I don't think it's going to matter, but at the end of the day, when you hear all this Binance FUD and CZ FUD, look, we've been here, throwing CZ under the bus a little bit lately. But then when I see this, I just want to relay the facts in an honest and truthful manner. And so to me, honestly, that doesn't look like anything much.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
This is overextension of our power grab on crypto as a whole, right? Binance isn't a U.S. company.
It's a shakedown.
Right.
Shake and bake. Shakedown. It's a shake and bake shakedown. You got that right here. Best show on crypto. Thank you very much. Everybody smash that like button. We do a lot of investigative journalism compared to other crypto channels. I'm not going to say I'm Whitney Webb here or, going deep like these Wall Street Journal reporters, but hey, we got to be better than your typical crypto channel. I'm not going to name names, but we're better than them for sure. So if you want to smash that like button, we really do appreciate it. We try not to hit you with the clickbait. Yeah, I said worst Bitcoin signal ever. Guess what it was? It was the worst RSI weekly reading we've ever had. So we're not saying, since the last bear market, since the start of the year. It's literally the worst signal. So if you appreciate as much credibility as the YouTube algorithm will allow, please smash the like button. We do appreciate it. Now, me and Drew talked about that Citrini research report yesterday. Well, apparently, everybody's blaming the whole stock market crash on this. Open up new strains of fear about AI, painting a dark portrait about the future, and where it becomes a race to the bottom. The new broader question, if AI is so bullish, what if it's so bullish, it's actually bearish? And then we had Oracle, largest drawdown in history, worse than the dot-com bust. They had some other ones, Datadog, CrowdStrike, Zscaler, they fell almost 10%. IBM, 13% decline, was the worst one-day performance since 2000. American Express, all these name check companies by Citrini, they all tumbled. So we put it on your radar yesterday. I did not know it was going to have that big an effect. I thought we were the freaks for reading these X articles. I guess
I
Wall Street
think
traders are doing it too.
not taking what we're saying seriously enough, DC. It's if you have the loss of velocity of money gained in an economy, and it's basically just rewrapped into this AI fever dream, and you have a disconnect from people and the economy, you have a broken economy at a point. Like, yes, we'll see some of these different sectors pump on this, but this is we've never seen this before in financial or human history. The disruption of AI, we've never seen before in financial history. And so,
especially not at this pace. And you can look at previous technological advancements, the Model T and what it did for America's economy, or Wright Brothers airplane, how that transformed World War I aerial combat and its effect, yada. Now we're talking about years. Now we're talking about years compressed in months, decades compressed in years. And so the rate of change is really something unlike we've ever seen, for sure.
Yes. Absolutely. It's
Uh,
now it's going to be day by day. It feels like we're every 2 or 3 days something like this happens. So, yeah, I've been having a lot of calls with my family and everything like that because, as the velocity of change increases, so does the reaction of it, right?
you want to? I'll read you a family member's. Now, this is I've been public about this. When Bitcoin was, I think, on its, it was either the run up or the rundown. It was 110. And he was like, I want to buy some Bitcoin. I was like, now's not the time. I told you to buy at 20. Now you're trying to buy at 110. Do not, I want some, just a small amount, about 2,500 of a Bitcoin ETF. Here's his post here. Bitcoin is really disappointing investment so far, but I plan on living at least a couple more decades. So maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to taste the fruits of Bitcoin before I say bye. He's like bringing up morbid death. Like, maybe it'll pump before I die. I'm
That's the
sorry.
vibe
I'm
out
sorry.
And this happens if you don't take profits on the way up, and if you FOMO buy giant green candle, right? And this is what happens. So we have to use discernment. I'm having to use the same discernment on the AI movement on Wall Street right now too, DZ. There's a lot of rare earth stocks I want. There's a lot of nano nuclear energy type situations going on. I just am not ready to buy the giant green candle because I don't want to get crushed on just a basic pullback.
Mm.
They're sound industries, but I just had to be careful to protect my capital, right? So we are seeing a little bit of a pump. We broke above $64,000 on Bitcoin as we were
Yeah, we're getting a
talking.
nice little move here. It looks about 9:35 a.m. So here you can see 10:35 is about when we started the show. So yeah, we had a nice little pump here, nice little pump here. Is the pump coming to a potential end? No bear divs on the 5 minute, so we might continue to get a little bit higher. None on the 12. I mean, yeah, the RSI is showing it could still have a little bit of strength here. We did pull back on the 1, so we're just doing some kind of small time frames, and you don't get hidden divergence until the 3 minute. So it could easily just blast into these. You know what I mean? So this could go on for a while. Yeah, Bitcoin's showing a little bit of strength here, a little bit of strength, Drew. So
Yeah,
I'm liking
absolutely.
what I'm seeing here. We might be pumping into today. But I'll tell you what is dead. Filecoin. Again, I don't know if it's dead. I'm not saying it's dead. Ted Pillows posted. I have it verified on DeFi Llama myself. Filecoin generated $4 in revenue yesterday. Fully diluted, it's worth $1.7 billion. It's down 99.8% from his peak. Means 10K invested 5 years ago is worth $20.
This is
Wow.
insane. This is insane. And Filecoin had a reasonable approach of its use case last bull
Hey,
market.
early, I would even say early into AI revolution, a lot of
Right.
people were bullish on Filecoin because it's like, well, a lot of stuff's going to be stored. And remember, we were talking about like 8K videos. And I was even, I remember I was like, maybe Filecoin's going to do well. But remember, I've famously been against all of this stuff where you got to give access to your computer to do stuff, whether it's Filecoin, whether it's Render. I said, no one's going to do any of this. I think my prediction came true.
Pretty much, man. And
Beware fading the DZ prediction.
it's true. And this is like, because there's so many things that crypto and altcoins tried to build out to fix problems. And now these problems are just being bulldozed by what's actually making the money right now. So very crazy. I don't hold any Filecoin. I don't think I ever have, but I'm sorry for it. If you lost on this one, that sucks, man.
I
Like,
mean, that was a good support there. You know what I mean? But can also die.
yeah, when
Can
you
also die.
lose that baseline hardcore extreme low support level, there's a degree of capital preservation that I've had to do, even
You
with
got
like,
a freaking Head and Shoulders here.
mm,
I mean, it's going to go below 0, so it's not possible.
no, you're gonna owe money for holding this thing at this point.
No, man. Look, 3 cents.
Oh, okay, that's huge.
Okay,
That's
that's
huge.
why.
Yeah, I'm
Oh no,
taking
you're
losses
cooked. That was
like
a
this.
log chart. You're cooked. You're cooked for sure.
Yeah, like Linnea was one of my biggest disappointments. Plume was super disappointing. When I lost those key base level support spots, I had to take my punch to the chin, and it's like a 30 or 40% loss on that position, but they continue to cascade down by another 50%.
Your MetaMask is like, no, you actually owe me money. It's negative value.
Yeah, we've gone into your bank account to fix this situation for
I'm stealing your ETH at this point. What? No, Solana, Jupiter. All right, Solana. Speaking of Solana, Discover Crypto. Make sure you're following us here. We're at 1 million followers here. And folks, if you haven't hit the like button, I see a lot of newer viewers have stepped in since the beginning of the show. Please smash the like button. We really do appreciate it. You're not going to get this breakdown in the news and the prices and the charts anywhere else in crypto. Solana DeFi giant Step Finance closes after the hack. All their other subsidiary companies are also down. It's a $40 million hack. So they announced that they're winding down operations. Also, their Solana NFT analytics. Also, the media outlet Solana Floor, as well as their DeFi protocol, Remora Markets. And so this is down after they had a breach of security for some of the treasury wallets on the 31st. Asked cybersecurity firms to assist with the investigation. It looks like it was 261,000 Solana. 27 million was unstaked, transferred during the event here.
Yeah.
Also, the token tanked 96% in the days following the hack there.
Is that the Steppen token?
It's not Steppen.
Okay.
Step Finance and Step In are two different things.
Okay.
But thanks for stepping into dark memories of me.
I had to bring it up, DZ. I remember you were like walking around the building earning Solana at a point.
Frankie Candles, and Brian, we all lived in the same house. We all moved here to work for this, hit network. We all, before we got our own homes, we all lived in the same cardboard box. And yeah, it was like hit one of us. Then Brian was first, and then it got to me, then it got to Frank, and you just see us.
I would be watching you guys going past the window just like this. I was like, what are they doing?
Got another $5.
Yeah. It's like the weirdest thing.
I'm like, yeah.
Who was I?
And then it was like $1.
Yeah. Well, remember Brave browser, right? Brave, the BAT token is now in the deep trenches, but I made thousands of dollars just by using the internet last cycle. So these things do happen. It's just, when you are earning money for walking around your building a couple times, you probably, should like protect the money, because nothing good like that lasts forever. People are asking if there's any altcoins I like in the chat here. I do still like Morpho. I like Morpho. I still think Aerodrome is systemically important, but I do actually have a bunch of charts we can go into of ecosystems. I actually think.
Well, I got a Solana chart, XRP chart. So let's jump into those. I'll pass it here. So Solana, I just want to test some of the levels we were talking about yesterday. We did say, look, keep an eye out on this level, and look how important it was right there. You can see, boom, came down, rejected off of it. Now try, and then I also said, keep an eye out on this midway point. And sure enough, we're starting to see a little bit of activity there, but it does look like Solana trying to blast through. I would caution that $80 is going to be difficult to breach. You just see a lot of resistance around this area if you go back to the previous bull markets there. So $80 is going to be a line in the sand for Solana. So I am expecting bullishness to slow down at that point. XRP, I saw this article. It's talking about, big classic bearish pattern. It's a 2-day bear pennant. You can see it right there. But I noticed something else. I also want to revisit this. I said, it is not looking good for XRP. Let's see. I filmed this, 24 hours ago? Or I guess 23 closer. So we're like right here when I'm filming it. I said, hey, in the video last night's video, I said, look, it's not good that we did a lower low, but I am expecting a nice bounce for XRP once we hit the bottom of this line. If you open the trade immediately, boy, was it scary. Because then it would shoot back up, come back down, shoot up, down, now back up. But if you held on, or you had those diamond hands, and you didn't try to fade DZ, yeah, you're doing really, really good in your long right now. So congrats, everybody there. And also, last one I want to share, Coin. It's a stock, I know, but we're talking about Coinbase's stock here. Bloomberg saying their revenue is about to take off like a rocket because of USDC. I looked at the Coin chart. Coin is very, very interesting from just a TA perspective. These are daily candles that we're looking at, and I actually haven't tested. See, yeah, we're getting nice. Yeah, that's a bull div. Coin's looking pretty good. I bought a couple options, nothing crazy, cheap options. I want to say it was June expiry, and I was going up to this level, 280. You can see it right here. It's the top right here. It's the top right there. But then I saw 290, just so much cheaper, relatively speaking. So I'm expecting a potential push towards 280. I have some 290 options that I will sell very quickly. And that's what I got for the charts here. Drew, you had a couple. Oh, yeah. Canton has great news, by the way.
Yeah.
They're about to free up $300 trillion asset market. Potentially, I did say I was going to talk about it real briefly. Gilts. I said it's gilts. It's basically UK government bonds. It's going to be the first time digital versions of these gilts. It's a $2 trillion market have been used in the intraday repo. Talking about repo, I guess about a month ago. It's when one party sells security and agrees to buy it back later. A repurchase agreement there, also called repo. So there you go. But you got some charts you were saying, Drew.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will preface it like, usually I get more hard-sided about hammering into alts when I see Bitcoin's weekly money flow start to pump back up. So I'm just going to start off with that so no one goes and, I'm not out here hammer buying these things that I'm about to map out to you, but I am seeing some ecosystems that are seeing generalized strength while we are seeing the worst RSI in Bitcoin's history, while we're seeing the death of vast majority of these altcoins. So I just want to preface it that way, before we get into it. So I'll start off with the Bitcoin weekly on the Market Cipher V. This is kind of, I love Market Cipher V for just timing my alt seasons, my own personal alt season, right? So right now, as things sit, MACD sliding downhill, and we're still not even close to out of the woodwork on this weekly money flow, but it is trying to show some signs of stopping the bleed here. It's got an IFAC out. It's pulling its items out. It's packing the hole. So, this can continue just to highlight what these red money flow waves have looked like in the past. This one was kind of a 3-step moment. You have your initial, wow, this is crazy sell off. And then it got even deeper after FTX. And even when you start to begin that bullish momentum, you are not out of the woodwork yet in terms of red money flow, but you pump from 15K to 26K just for the sake of historical context here. But where we're at right now, I think we got at least a couple months before we really start to see that swooping motion back to the upside.
Are you in high G or regular candles?
Regular candles. And this is generally like when I'm feeling frisky on alts is basically right here when I start to see the uptrend begin. So I am ready to map out some altcoins that I think are going to outpace the rest of the market. And one of the main ones on my mind here, it's not XRP, it's Tau. So I'm going to go ahead and check out Tau because Tau has been defending support levels much more aggressively than a vast majority of these altcoins have in the market. So let's pull this up. Actually, I want to get as much data as I can. This is one of my crazier picks. We were bullish on this project at $40. And so, it's a little bit insane to see it crash down to $160, but here we are. And this green box, it is now tapping. I haven't looked at this in a while. It is now tapping into this spot where I feel like dipping my toe. Yeah, under $200. We're tapping down near 169 currently. But I personally, for my own altcoin portfolio, am buying this project when we enter this green box, right? So I'm adding the main Tau token, but within Tau, there is an ecosystem happening. And these are mostly AI agents. And I've seen 2 of them that have kind of stuck out in my mind from a chart perspective and use perspective within this whole pile. If you want to get this for your own watch list, this is top potential Tau ecosystem tokens in CoinMarketCap. You can go there to the categories and find it.
High on the risk curve, everybody.
Very high, very high. And, for me, looking at projects like this, when I am ready to start looking even beyond Tau, this is going to be 1%, maybe a half of 1% allocation into these projects, because This is the same thing that I did when everyone was running for the hills last bull market on Polygon, and that's a true 100x move I was able to make, right? It's by buying these things that show systemic growth while the rest of the world is basically on fire. Um, and the first one I want to look at is Ridges AI. And this general chart structure, you have the initial release of this AI agent, and go find out a little bit more of them on their website. But basically, you incentivize agentic AI agent training with this token. Now, I've seen a lot of overlap from Claw and the Tau ecosystem. And so now my greedy little nose is snooping around in this ecosystem, and I do see a bounce. I see that it has very strong movement from its release, and it's still up 120% from its release. But you have a stumble moment right here that was developed basically at where price is at. And now it's starting to swoop to the upside. I'm not ready to buy this thing right now. This is a very low market cap project, but I am looking at a 0.5% allocation to this project just in case I see AI agentic agents continue to do what they've been doing already. And the other one within this is a very unknown project that has a different structure. It's about the same market cap, but it is Score SN44. And these are, the best place if you guys want to keep up with the AI, Potensor Tau agent ecosystem is actually this guy, Mark Jeffrey. He has been kind of a whisper on my shoulder about this ecosystem growing, and I really like his work. He does a really good job. I don't know him as a friend or anything, but I follow him, and he's provided some pretty good information to me. So that is what I like within the Potensor Tau ecosystem as things sit. There's a whole another slew of these projects, but you can see, I mean, even on a generally bad day, most of these projects are showing green on the daily, which is that pulse in the corpse of altcoins that I see pumping in this AI agentic sector. And I think that I learned my lesson fading this with the December 2024 AI agent fever craze. And that fever dream was built largely on hype and LARPing of people acting like they were AI agents. This is Potensor Tau, and Tau is a truly crypto-centric AI system. So
Oh yeah.
that is what I'm looking for. And you had one of the best highlights about Tau in and of itself, that it's very easy to digest for the average
Yeah, it's
person.
marketable, and yeah, normies can understand it.
Right.
You need normies to be able to wrap their head around it in like one sentence. Tau
Right.
is that. A lot of other coins, not so much. You got to go really like Canton.
Mhm.
I guess you could just say it's like BlackRock insiders, but there's definitely more complicated altcoins out there. And Tau, pretty simple. It's like Bitcoin tokenomics, AI. It's Bitcoin
Right.
for AI. Okay, I get that.
And on Canton, man, I'm still trying to get that. I thought you had a pretty reasonable take looking for a 13-cent washout and just kind of the guts of this support spot right now. It's not giving up much ground, but we are seeing a little bit of a petering out, an upside, but almost looks like it's ready to run again. Look at the MACD on the daily is, I mean, the sell-off pressure is starting to wane, and they don't stop. They just keep hammering these gigantic integrations of treasury repos. It's, it's almost getting brutal how much bullish news Canton has while everything seems to be going so poorly for the rest of the market. So when it comes to Canton, I took enough profits to feel like I got just good house money going on. Most of my entry on this was in the 7-cent mark. So I was able to take that good profit. I have a lot of house money working for me in this, but my hopeful kind of topping off the bag zone is around that $12 to $13 zone, right?
Okay.
I don't want high entry points on anything that even is good. So that is where I'm at with that. Morpho is showing a lot of strength, even regardless of all the Aave and lending FUD going on. So Morpho, I am still holding the line. I want $1.30 on Morpho, and just the basic guts of this W pattern and a previous high volume area. about $1.30, $1.25 makes a whole heck of a lot of sense for me on Morpho. I think Morpho is going to continue to catch up with the Aave lending protocol. And with that, I mean, nothing stays the same forever. Morpho is one of the newer projects, and in general, TVL isn't falling off of a cliff. So TVL in DeFi is looking pretty resilient, and with it, the largest lending protocols are still Aave, but right behind it is Morpho. But Aave was at 30 billion, while Morpho was around this $5.5 billion mark, and Aave has shaved off 5 billion. Morpho has held the line. So in essence, it's holding strength, and it's actually gaining participation in terms of comparison to Aave, right? So
quick question on Morph.
Yeah.
What was your favorite Mighty Morphin Power Ranger?
Oh God, it was the one that turned into T-Rex.
Type in your color, your favorite Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, and green is the only acceptable answer, Drew.
Well, I liked red. I liked
red.
I liked red, and maybe
Red's
that explains
dead,
why
right?
I have so much fun in bear markets, because I liked red more. What was yours? Green?
Green. I like green. Tommy, you know, he turns white, but he gotta like it when he's green. And yellow. That was the Asian.
I was like, yeah, yellow six. Well, I take it back. My favorite one was the White Ranger. I take everything I said back. But red is also very much.
Ah, man, white, pink.
White Ranger was
okay. You know, a lot of people like the pink one there. Yeah, green. People love the green one. All right, well, that's all we got. Drew, let's see any other charts you want to share real quick.
No, I mean, I think later on in the week, it'd be reasonable for us to look at the structural integrity of Aerodrome. And
I said the Red Ranger was white bread.
Oh my God.
Man, they said it's a saltine cracker with the salt knocked off.
Oh Lord. Yeah, later on in the week.
I said it's a pack of ramen noodles without the seasoning, Drew.
It just keeps getting worse. It just keeps getting. Please like the show. Okay, please smash the like button.
That's what Red wasn't dead. Red made someone dead.
Red's dead. Oh man. There's a lot of charts to look at that I feel like are gonna last and be a part of the next money flow swoop to the upside. However long it takes for us to prove this bottom, but
that's it. Zed's dead, and what you do with my grandpa's watch? That's all we got, folks, and we'll see you folks in the future.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.